The all-wise power. We asked how God's existence was proven to them.
We know by the powers already manifested that no being less than the Almighty could create. We know through messengers from higher planes. We have the testimony from Christ, who is so near to the highest, that he can tell us of his very presence. But perhaps most of all is the absolute impression upon our inmost spirit that we are guarded, cared for, and raised into higher intelligence and purer life and joy by an influence outside ourselves. We know this with an assurance you can hardly understand. But it is more than sight, hearing, or touch.
Prayer.
We will start with the theme of prayer. Prayer on this side is altogether different from the wordings and ascriptions of praise of earthly communicants. We do not pray regularly. We do not have Sunday services in which are laws and regulations for drawing near to the divine. We are filled at times with a recognition of the great and good and loving power above and beyond us. Our praise is more a spontaneous expression of love and joy that we are cared for by the Supreme Being, and we never doubt this or grow indifferent to it. This is our praise and prayer, a happy living recognition of the Creator, and the—
There was a short pause.
I only wish to tell you how very far away we are from the ordered service, with its written hymns and prayer, or formulas for addressing the Most High. Love, spontaneous and ever-present love, and joy in that love, is our worship.
You have no meetings then?
Sometimes we find ourselves in company with those who praise with us without formal preparation and without any law of praise or service. Our prayer is like the sunshine or the fragrant wind. No, I cannot describe it. But it is an exquisite quality of joy, an expression of that joy, as we turn toward the author of all joy.
At another time they referred to prayer as follows.
There is much liberty of expression here, also much difference of feeling. Many retain some of their former expressions. But if these are from the heart, they serve the purpose of bringing them near to the heavenly spirit. All do not think alike here. All do not serve alike.
Difficulties of communication.
We have much difficulty in reducing the spiritual, the heavenly, the wonderful, into terms of human understanding. Then too, not all here are equipped with the power to perceive view of mortal life. Gifts are not all the same. On earth are the spiritual and unseen powers, and also the business and material opportunities. It is difficult to meet them all. We work half blindly, hoping that something of our thought and purpose may reach across the silence and help you to understand and to give to the earth people a new and satisfying view of this life.
The jokers. Sissa's pencil one evening wrote with almost lightning rapidity.
We are not trying much. This is not Mary. She was called away and we thought we would try. How do you like my penmanship? We think it pretty good for the first, but can do better after practice.
Who is this?
Never mind. We are not malicious, anyway. But Mary would think us no good. We would not measure up to her requirements. She is coming. Goodbye.
Sis asked Mary who they were.
Just jokers, and not much good, just as they said. But no harm is done. They will learn wisdom in time.
I am glad there are jokers in heaven.
You may be one yourself.
An old friend.
This life is a great teacher. All our old earth-born ideas have to be restudied, and for the most part abandoned or revised.
What is your work over there?
Oh, how I wish I could make you see it as I see it. But it cannot be described exactly. It is with the undeveloped spirits, even with the criminal, at times. But you cannot know how love can find entrance even into criminal lives, until you see its results here. I love my work, and there is much besides the teaching also. There is study of the most delightful kind. There is travel, which I long for on earth but could never have. There is my home, and I can hardly tell you how dear that is to me who never had one of my own on earth. And then through all, over all, surrounding all, is a peace and happiness which can only come from the ever-present love.
Do you mean love from divine power, or love of friends?
Both. We are conscious of a great surrounding goodness and care, and we are conscious too that this care wishes us to be happy, happy beyond all happiness we had ever known before. And all here who have developed their spirit lives are filled with love and kindness and thoughtfulness for others. Can you understand a little?
The Unknown Communicators.
We are not your friends, Mary and Dee. We came because we heard your call into the silence. We are no one you know, no one who has used your hand before. But we are true in spiritual alliance, for we are of the same thought as your dear friends. We believe the life of the Spirit must be service first, joy afterward. But no, that is not quite right, because service is always joy. The two move on together, and if the sad old world could learn the lesson of unselfish, unseeking service, unseeking of any return, it would create a heaven on earth. There are saints over there, but their quiet self-sacrifice and loving service are scarcely noticed. The ruling passion for power, the ruling desire for riches to win this power, is almost universal. And the quiet saint-like souls who go on their way unobserved will grow more and more heavenly in character, and will become the nobility here.
Is there difference in caste?
No, only one nobility, and only one entrance into its circles, only that of loving, kindly, unselfish service. That is our thought. We think your friends would be willing that we should write this to you.
Yes, that is their creed.
We know that, and they are true and noble, you may be sure.
Life and character.
I am wishing to tell those on earth, who are struggling to learn what is the meaning of life, that it is the way one looks at it that determines its value. If one thinks of it as a time of sensuous enjoyment, one makes his life a thing of little worth, for such things have no value in the spirit world. If one looks at life as something to be endured and to be gotten through with as soon as possible, he will form a character that has nothing to rest on here. He will have to create new foundations before he can advance. If one there believes that life consists in praying and preaching, that spirit is apt to want to pray and preach here. And in this world there are no churches or congregations that will respond as they did there, and the spirit has to learn that there are other things to acquire before the true life can be enjoyed. When a soul on earth can realize that there are others there who need assistance, who will be the better for aid and sympathy, and can learn to feel that this aid and sympathy can be given by himself, he is in the way to create the life that will mean the most to him when his mortal life is over.
The care of little children.
There are many who receive them, and they are very tenderly cared for until they awaken. That is, begin to see and hear by spirit means. We have watchers for them, like nurses in a hospital. And when it is noticed that one begins to show signs of wonder or curiosity, this one is taken to another place where experienced teachers look after them until they can understand that love surrounds them. This applies to those who were old enough on earth to have learned some things there. When they are awakened enough and experienced enough to understand the loving thoughts that are sent to their minds, they are examined carefully as to their different characteristics and as to their real mental ability. For we have learned that these manifest at a very early stage. No doubt this is much easier for us than for you, because we can usually read their thoughts quite readily. When they have been studied and cared for in this manner for a time, they are placed in groups under such teachers as will be best fitted for their special characteristics. We have found that we make astonishing progress in their education by following this procedure, and we have wondered why it is not more understood on earth.
Is this Dee writing?
Yes, I have been teaching children nearly ever since I came. I have served in nearly all the various grades or wards. My classes have usually been those who were musically inclined, and it has been one of my greatest delights to see how readily many of them grasp the necessary ideas for a musical education. We have other teachers who are best fitted to teach those who seem destined for the loving, missionary work, and others who know how to encourage any scientific tendencies that may appear. We are often astonished at the precocity of some youngster in the way of mathematics. But possibly this astonishes me more than it would some because I was always so backward in that way. With the younger children there is of course more time spent in the earlier care, while their little minds are developing sufficiently to receive impressions. But even this time is much shorter than it is on earth, and a tiny babe is sometimes in the study class with marvelous quickness. It is such dear work that it attracts a very loving class of workers, and if mothers on earth only knew what tender care they always have, there would certainly be less grief over the loss.
Does a babe that dies before birth continue to live there?
Yes, it lives, of course, and is cared for as tenderly as if years older. What difference does it make whether it is a few weeks old or many months old? It is a human being started on an immortal journey, which is only slightly interrupted no matter at what stage death may occur.
Believers in mysticism.
Many come here under the influence of the various mystic teachings on earth. These teachings, as you know, have more or less good at the bottom of all of them. And those who have followed them are still strong in their beliefs for a long time here, unless we can somehow show them that all goodness leads in one direction. We have circles whose members have been connected with such societies on earth, who act as missionaries now. They are especially qualified because of their previous knowledge. They mingle with the spirits whom they wish to help, and use their influence in persuading them that true spirituality is broader than any one belief. They eventually drop their unnecessary rituals and peculiar ideas, and join those who are progressing. It is a necessary work here, for there are many who have adopted beliefs in theosophy and kindred thought, and they would all more or less group together and continue without further advancement here if there were not some outside influence to help them. The world little realizes how backward it is in acquiring spiritual knowledge. Nearly all would wander for a long time in darkness here were it not for the help that is given them. When you think of the multitudes coming all the time, and of the time it takes to influence many of them, you can get some idea of the multitudes of teachers and missionaries necessary here.
Evil spirits.
When those who have led evil lives first realize that they have left the earth life, they are often very hard to manage because of their disappointment. They think of their earth life as gone forever, and they have no desire whatever for anything of a spiritual nature. There is nothing to live for, and yet they are alive. It is much the same as life imprisonment on earth, and knowing that it was impossible to get free. Their disappointment often turns to rage, and they become for a time nothing but mad creatures. It is a very pitiful sight. Even when they begin to realize that their rage is useless, and they begin to listen to other spirits, it is still one of our most difficult tasks to arouse any ambition and get them started on the upward path. Then, if they have been the cause of much suffering on earth, they have to pass through the stage of making compensation in some form.
How can you be happy when you know some have such difficult paths to tread? And that there are so many of them?
We are happy because we can help, and also because we know that they will finally come into pure thought and kindly lives, and will shed their criminal desires as an individual might shed an old garment.
How do they make compensation?
We think they go back to earth at times and try to undo their wrongs. They try to put good or fortunate impulses in place of evil and cruel ones, and sometimes succeed in bringing joy to those they have injured.
It doesn't sound much like heaven when you speak of criminals there?
We are not talking of heaven when we speak of criminals. They are in the mental purgatories or spirit hells the old writers imagined. There is no burning fire and no eternal punishment, but their mental suffering and final atonement are very real.
A Sunday sermon.
We wish to affirm our belief that a new era, a new power, is coming to earth in the unfolding and renewing of spirit life through communication from this side. We are watching with longing eyes for nearness to us of earth friends, for renewing, or rather creating, spirit knowledge on that side. For we believe that if this life could be rightfully understood, and the knowledge acquired there that the earth life is only a preparatory existence, that life would then become a more important, a more beautiful experience.
Who is writing?
We are two, who loved, sorrowed, and were separated in our earth life, one of us preceding by a long time the other into the spirit world. We were not believers in spirit communication there, and I, who came first, sadly wondering, and filled with false theories and spurious wisdom, could not find immediate joy. At last she came, and all sorrow disappeared in the complete happiness and companionship of this life.
Today is Sunday. Can you not give me a little sermon from over there?
Sunday. And a sermon. What should it be, what can it be, in this clear light, except truth, no other than truth, knowledge, great and glorious knowledge of this life and its never-ending joy.
Does a never-ending joy grow a bit tiresome if there is no change, no contrast?
Never. An eternity of love. Happiness, increasing wisdom, knowledge, with an unknown and limitless universe for study. Satiety. Weariness. No, never. We cannot express it in any earth language. One must be here to realize its perfect satisfaction.
There was a pause of some moments. Finally Sis asked.
Is there anything more?
Yes, more, and much more, if only we could give it to you in mortal language. But to your thought we can only convey the sense of never-ending contentment and progress.
A spirit of the time of Muhammad came to me once to say that all this modern conception of heaven is wrong, that there is no ecstatic joy, etc.
Yes, there may have been for him truth in those very words. For such souls may still be submerged in their own ignorance and false belief. Let me tell the world that human life in its short existence on earth may make its entrance here one of doubting ignorance, or even one of evil thought and feeling, for a time. This is true, because the divine law is one of personal freedom. Each soul can choose its own future. Each soul, still embedded in its human life, is choosing that future now. The old theologians, in their half-knowledge, describe this life of the human soul as either a harp-playing multitude about a golden throne, or a descent into a fiery burning hell to be suffered forevermore. But this was only a human, emotional effort to describe the indescribable. The life here is the reasonable result of one's choice of one's character.
Helping others.
Try for the best, always. And we believe the best is to acquire knowledge along spiritual lines. Live spiritually, think kindly, watch for opportunity to serve. There are so many who need help over there, and we here must work through human thought. Therefore we seek those who are ready to help us.
In what way can we help?
First of all, in our judgment, is the understanding of this life. Not in the old ecstatic, symbolic way, but in the way of acquiring knowledge of the limitless opportunities for the human soul. We were not taught on earth that once past the gateway of death, there was either opportunity or necessity for growth. Neither had we learned that service for others was one of the heavenly joys. Nor did we dream that through such service, evil souls could be transformed into pure-hearted and wise-minded helpers. There must be an understanding of the wonderful possibilities here. Heaven is wide.
We are not your usual friends. We came to this circle to watch its work, and we find it fine in every particular. We are of another group, and have for our special work the teaching of new arrivals. You can hardly imagine the necessity of bringing the mortal thought into harmony with the heavenly. The mortal powers are for mortal minds, and are no longer used here. We love the effort to broaden their knowledge and turn their mistaken ideas of this life into true perceptions. Many appear to consider that there is a burning hell somewhere on or beneath the boundary of our heavenly sphere, and can scarcely give up the idea of everlasting punishment. But the only hell is in the thought or soul of the sinner, and he must be cleansed of evil thought, must be taught the first essential quality of heavenly life, which is unselfish service, looking away from self, and growing persistent in the effort to help others. Heaven is wide and infinite in its possibilities. There are souls who do not come into realization of this life for a long time. Many seem to cherish the teachings, thoughts, and tendencies of their earth lives, even when they are guided into better ones. But finally all go to their own place. That place may be with pure and beautiful spirits, or with the evil ones who will not or cannot forsake their sins for a time.
Understanding life.
The mystery of life there as well as here is almost beyond understanding. But the more we study it, the clearer and more beautiful it grows. Do not be disheartened if you do not comprehend it in entirety. No one of us has arrived at that point yet. But take the blessings, yes, even the trials that come, knowing that all are in the way of education and progress. Can you not see already some of the beneficent effects of trial, disappointment, and loss?
The wicked ones have trials and sorrows also, but it seems to do them no good?
Perhaps not as you see it. But sinners have to go through the fires of criminality, sin, and sorrow sometimes before purification or advancement comes. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. That is progress, or that is the way to progress. No effort is lost.
Unconsciousness after death.
When death interrupts the action of the brain, All thought is then necessarily carried on by the spirit brain. It can sometimes do this at once, although usually only for a short time. In most cases it is unable to act at all for a while. Presumably this is because it has always relied on the assistance of the machinery of the material brain, and lacks experience in acting alone. This, we think, explains the first unconsciousness after death. After a time it receives additional power, as we all receive it, and then can function alone. It is often in a very dazed condition, however, for a longer or shorter period, and much lacking in reasoning powers. In addition, it may not have learned how to see and hear, thus still further limiting its action. So a spirit is frequently a very helpless being for a long time. It is when in this state that it can sometimes take possession again of a material brain and cause insanity. It is attracted by some force or impression, and clings to the new support like the proverbial drowning man catching at a straw. We do not think there are many cases where spirits willfully obsess a human. If they do, they are correspondingly difficult to dislodge. Some persons on earth have difficulty in thinking of abstract subjects. Such spirits are longest in comprehending the use of spirit powers. They are not always to blame. Many times they have inherited dullness that can never be overcome there, and are always much slower here. It is not the same as being materially minded. Many bright, alert minds think only of a sensual material life. They are delayed seriously here.
Evidential tests and prophecies. In speaking of an event of which we had just learned, we were surprised to find that our friends on that side already knew of it. I said, "Well, you missed a splendid test. Why did you not tell us about it?" I rather think that would have appealed to the public somewhat more than the messages.
We know so surely of the life here that we forget the value of tests. We need someone to remind us constantly, for to us they seem foolish and unnecessary. Like trying to tell one the sun is shining, when all can see the facts for themselves.
Well, if there is anything to tell now, be sure that you do not overlook it.
There are no more events of that kind in the near future, but perhaps you may see some changes. But I will not foretell these. You must wait and see for yourself.
Just how much can you foretell?
Not much. We can see circumstances and the probable results, and many are able to tell the future from them. But we are not gifted in that way.
We have read of a number of prophecies, and have wondered how far such things were possible.
Some seem able to prophesy, but it is a psychic gift, or possibly a keen intuition, that can foresee results from certain conditions. We are not creatures of fate. Set that down as a truth not to be denied. We are free to live our own lives.
Religious service.
Mary gave us a very interesting message once concerning prayer. Can you also tell us something of your religious services?
We have no church service, no creed, no rules, except the service of kindness and love. Our prayer is the spontaneous expression of joy and gratitude. But we constantly recognize an all-wise, all-loving, all-pervasive power, whom mortals call God. We recognize and serve this power by trying to conform our lives and actions to this protecting love. If this power so cares for us, why should we not use our own lesser powers for those whom we can help? We feel sure that this is the only acceptable worship of the Most High.
By what name do you speak of this power?
No name other than the Most High, the great first cause, or loving power, or other expression of confidence and loving worship. Christ is the greatest expression of that confidence and love, and we look to him as our teacher and elder brother. Cultivate the personal qualities of patience, gentleness, and helpfulness, and you will be cultivating your own spirit life.
Where are Mary and Dee?
Out in space somewhere. I do not know their particular interest today, but there is always interest. Do not forget that.
Interest enough for the whole 24 hours without sleep or rest?
Yes, for the whole 24 hours of day, week, month, years, ages, eternity, without the unconsciousness you know as sleep. Spirit does not weary. It has its passive times, but they are fraught with renewed strength and blessing.
A conception of God. We had asked some question concerning their conception of God, and were told,
He is not limited to personality, even to the degree that we who are spirit are limited. If it were possible, I might explain a little more fully, but you could not at present understand. So try to be satisfied with the knowledge that God is present to the remotest part of the universe, and that God is a God of love and justice and mercy. Never doubt this. The more spiritual we become, the nearer we grow to that blessed spiritual presence, and the more nearly we approach, the more our spirits are filled with love, awe, and reverence. Be content to serve with the love of God in your heart, and sometime your knowledge will be perfected.
And again,
it would be difficult for you to even realize the absolute existence of the Creator of all things. Material form is not His, nor perhaps spirit form even, as we know it. But His influence is everywhere. Be content until your soul is illumined with further understanding. We here do not see God as a person, or even as a spirit. That vision belongs to the spiritually advanced and illumined ones of higher spheres.
a question had also been asked about the Lord's Prayer.
Christ had this inspiration. It is one of the perfect ones, unalloyed by mortal thought. Use it, knowing that it does avail with the Father of us all. For God, the Father, is always near and always ready to help. We do know God, the Father, better than you, but He is a spirit so ethereal that we of the lower planes do not see Him. But we feel His influence far more than you, because we are farther removed from the material senses.
Desire for recognition.
We grow impatient here at times at the delay of Earth people in their recognition of our presence, especially by investigators whose word would have much authority if given in our support. We have given the world proof after proof, and yet they want still more. We think the time has come for us to insist that they give their attention to the vast accumulation of evidence, and make some use of it. No honest investigator has really denied the reality of our manifestations. But it is so difficult to get them to publicly admit it. We are trying to use our influence now to have someone make a thorough analysis of the quantity of material that is in their hands, with the determination to show that there is sufficient to supply a firm foundation for a spiritistic belief.
We said that Professor Richer had made some analysis of that kind, but had failed to arrive at a spiritistic belief.
We know. We hoped he would be the one to do it. We think there are several others who will be amenable to our influence, and we hope for some show of success.